Hey guys, thank you for joining me today. I wanted to share some of my story today and how I kind of got to wanting to do this. Something I'm super bad for is just like a verbal vomiting on people, telling them kind of everything that I feel like they should be doing, what I would do if I was in their situation and whatnot. And I can't promise that I'm not going to continue to like do those things because that's just how my passion comes out. But I think that it's super important for me to build some credibility around myself. A lot of you probably haven't met like this version of me and probably know versions of me that you're like, what is she doing? You know what I mean? um, but over the last couple of weeks, I've been thinking about what steps did I take before I really saw that change in myself. And I would say it was pretty recent when I started to fully get confident and like not actually care what people thought of me and like actually like myself, probably within the last year. And I think that the foundation of it was just taking full accountability. Accountability for where I was at, accountability for everything that had happened. And I don't even mean accountability in the sense of like being overly apologetic or being overly hard on yourself for ways that you've acted and stuff, because we're all human. So we're all going to, have emotional reactions to things, and we're all going to say things we shouldn't say and do things we shouldn't do. But it's so important to just be understanding. I think that's what accountability really comes down to, is being really understanding and really curious. Now, I think that I look at accountability a little bit different than the rest of the world might look at accountability, and I really want to share some of my perspective on it because I think that there's a lot of value in it. But first, I want to kind of roll back a little bit. So, I would say there's 3 angles of accountability that I want to focus on and talk about and touch on and share with you, share stories about. And the first one comes from really taking a look inside, right? So taking accountability by listening to your body, listening to your intuition, listening to what your brain is telling you. All of us, if we wanted to, we could sit down and we could write a to-do list based off of like what our physiology and our brain has been telling us to do for however long. And what I mean by that is like maybe 10 times a day you hear in the back of your mind, oh, I need to quit smoking, or I really need to call this person, or I need to stop this habit, I need to start this habit, I need to stop eating so much, I need to stop talking to people like that. You know what I mean? Like there's always a list of things where it's like subconsciously you're like, yeah, I should probably change that. But as adults, we get so used to just pressing that stuff down. Like, we got things to do. I'm not worried about fixing those little issues. But little do we all know, like, those little issues, like, that's who we are. Those little issues that are coming up in our brain are begging to be fixed to free up brain space so that you can propel yourself into who you're supposed to be. And I'm not trying to, I will talk inspirationally, and I think every individual is capable of anything, and I truly do believe that. But I'm not even trying to be like hokey here. It's like, if you do the things that your brain's been telling you to do, or at least you put them on paper, it's gonna start to open up some brain space and propel you into who you're supposed to be, right? Now, a lot of times I would say we get like a really close relationship with our problems, especially if you've had them for a really long time. Like, say you're in a toxic relationship and every day your brain tells you like you really need to get out of this. Like, what are you doing? You're not going to make that decision until you shift that energy a bit, right? So if you have a really good relationship with your problems, you're going to have to tell somebody about it that will be able to help you with that accountability, because chances are you won't be able to find it within yourself if you have a really good relationship with that problem. So what that looks like is confiding in friends that you trust, confiding in family, confiding in anyone that you feel comfortable with, but that will most likely hold you accountable. And this ties into another pillar of accountability that I find super important. And this is where my perspective gets a little like interesting, I would say, on accountability. So I'll explain this through a story. I used to have a colleague, and when this colleague had a problem going on with family, with relationships, with work, with absolutely anything, they were known for asking every single person in the office for advice. And not just asking for advice, but even they would go as far as like, say they're on the third person asking them for advice, they would ask for the advice and then they would talk smack about the other advice they had gotten, right? So they'd be like, well, this person said to do this, but I don't think that that's going to get me where I want to go, blah, blah, blah. So not only are they not going to reputable people to get help for their issue, but they're like almost blaming people for not giving them the right advice. And I watch this person do this time and time again. And it formulated this idea in my mind of like, why are you asking that person for this advice? Like specifically, I can remember them asking someone who is in a horrific relationship for relationship advice. And I'm like, but why do you want that person's opinion on this? Do you know what I mean? So I would say like one of the biggest pillars of accountability that I focus on is like, don't go to people for advice that cannot give you the advice that you need and that's not going to get you on track. Like if someone hates their job, don't ask them for career advice. If someone's family is messed up and meshed, something's wrong with it, don't ask them for, I'm fighting with my mom right now. Can you help me? Do you know what I mean? Because you're just shooting yourself in the foot and there's no accountability in that. You're trying to get help from someone who subconsciously can't help you. And then you can blame them for their crap advice later, but it's still your fault, right? So that's like a big part of accountability, I would say, and where I see really positive changes in my life is like, because if you're going to someone who can't give you an actual solution with a problem, you're just talking smack. You're not doing anything, right? And then the final pillar that I would say of accountability that's really helped me is not like taking accountability for another person, but taking accountability for what you've allowed from that person, right? So you can't say like, oh, well, I pushed them to be that. Like, well, like that's over taking accountability. Like if someone's mistreated you and you're like, oh, I pushed them to do that, you're over taking accountability. What you want to do is you want to be head on with it. And being head on with it is more so like, no, this person showed me time and time again that they were going to disrespect me because they were disrespecting me. And I continued to allow that and make justifications for them. And that's accountability, right? So it's understanding your role. And usually your role isn't pushing someone to do something or anything like that. Your role is just allowing people to mistreat you. And it might not even be people mistreating you. It could be something else. But yeah, so that's my thoughts on accountability. That's my relationship with accountability. And I think that's some of the main stuff I wanted to touch on, like in this first little blip, but there will be a lot more content that I put out about accountability because I think that it's one of the big guys that really helps me out. But yeah, I hope that gave you something. If you want to chat about it, you can comment and you can reach out to me. I'm always super open to chat about this stuff. If there's anything specific that you guys wanted to see in the future video-wise, let me know. And yeah, thank you so much. I love you so much and thank you for watching. Subscribe.